Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're talking about a question in a video that I've seen on many occasions. Everybody wants to know what the difference is between an AR-15 and an M16. And I've seen many videos who have gotten this completely utterly wrong. So let's sort of clear that up right now. What is the difference between an AR-15 and an M16? Absolutely nothing. The term M16, M4 is basically a U.S. government designation for an AR-15 rifle. For example, a standard original Model 601 rifle that went to the U.S. government early on in the Vietnam War was marked Colt AR-15 or Colt Armalite AR-15. Once the rifle started going into production for the Air Force, Colt AR-15 Model M16. Then you had property of U.S. government Colt AR-15 Model XM16E1, and you would also see Colt AR-15 Model M16s as well. It wasn't until the U.S. government had their full technical data package and it was fully adopted as a standard that they got rid of the AR-15 and just went to the term M16 or M16A1, M16A2. So basically what this is saying is every single rifle that adheres to Stoner's design, his internal piston design, is an AR-15. It doesn't matter whether it's a Colt, an LMT, a LWRC, or anybody who uses a internal piston system is going to be an AR-15. So now where does it come from, this indication that an AR-15 is a semi-automatic only? After Colt went with the M16 U.S. government designations, they renamed their entire military and LE export line of selective fire rifles as M16s, or M16A1, M16A2s. However, that was internal only. If you were to look at a Colt M16A1, for instance, you would see multiple configurations of rifles that had nothing to do with the U.S. government TDP. They just internally used the term M16A1, M16A2. For instance, the M16A2 that you will see Colt, they will have ones using A1 field sights. They'll have A2 field sights. You'll see even some really early versions of the flat top upper receiver. You'll see any length barrel from 10.5 to 11.5 up to 20-inch barrels. They would all use that exact same designation. Where for the U.S. government, an M16A2, for instance, has a specific barrel length, a specific rear sight setup, a specific everything as per that. Colt, on the other hand, just utilized everything that was selective fire, and then they switched their AR-15 to their commercial line. So they went with all of their semi-automatic only guns, and they utilized that. Now, why did that only happen at Colt? Colt had a trademark on AR-15, so they were able to be the only company to utilize that. So every other company, for instance, at that time, Bushmaster XM15E2S, I believe it was, they had to come up with a new designation rather than using the term AR-15. So that's why AR-15 was basically confined to the use of Colt, but it has nothing to do with the model. Very similar to the M9 pistol. The M9 pistol is a 92F Beretta, Model 92FS Beretta, but it states on the pistol nowhere 92FS. It is the U.S. government designation M9. So now we'll get into the M4, for example. Once the M4 carbine was adopted, they switched over to M4. Now the M4 has specific technical data. It has specific information on it that it has to adhere to. Its barrel length, its selective fire, burst mechanism, whichever model it is for the U.S. government. Colt has gone ahead and used M4 on every carbine that they have for commercial export and LE sales. They even went as far as to go to the commercial lines and use the term M4. However, Colt, on the other hand, had set up and got a trademark on the term M4. Well, the problem with that trademark was it was a U.S. government designation. The trademark was awarded, however, was later challenged by Bushmaster, and the trademark was nullified because of the fact that M4, first off, was a U.S. government designation and in common use, so there was no way that Colt could have that. So now, after that was invalidated, any company can use the term M4 now on any of their rifles. It's no longer restricted. So hopefully that clears this up a little bit. The fact is that you're going to see pictures throughout this video where you're going to see Colt AR-15 marked U.S. military guns. And you're going to see guns that were used for export, again, foreign military gun contracts, law enforcement that are selective fire that utilize these nomenclatures as well. So it can get confusing the way that Colt has done things throughout the years. The way that they use U.S. government designations for their product line, even though they have nothing to do with U.S. government guns. But hopefully this sort of clears that up. That every single one of these guns is an AR-15. Quite frankly, if you would want to look at it, even the AR-10 variations, any AR-10 that uses an internal piston type rifle, selective fire or not, would be an AR-10. For instance, an SR-25 would be an AR-10. An LMT MRP would be an AR-10. Any Daniel Defense internal piston 308 versions would be an AR-10. But they utilize their own names and their own nomenclature. So I do hope this clears this up. Again, it's been complicated. I do also want to differentiate external piston versions. External piston versions, no matter how similar they look to a regular AR-15 type rifle, is still not an AR-15. It's a different operating system. It's a different rifle, and for all intents and purposes. It may look alike, but it uses a different operating system. So that would not fall under any AR-15 type designation. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this little piece of history. Please click like, please subscribe, and even better share. Thank you.